Hi, this is Aswathy, Assistant Professor, Department of Visual Communication, K.S.Rangasamy, College of Arts and Science, Autonomous. Today we are going to learn about design and various elements of design. What is a design? Let's know it. Okay, what is design? Let's try and understand it. Design is a communication art. The process of design is used to bring orderliness from chaos and randomness. So it helps to arrange different elements in an order to convey a proper message. Next we'll try to understand what is visual composition. Visual composition is like a grammar language. The use of design principles applied to design elements is like a visual grammar. As we use grammar for other languages, design principles and elements are grammar of the design. So in this video we'll try and understand various design principles like balance, pattern and movement, and also design elements like point, light and texture. When we talk about elements of design, the design elements are visual tools available to the designer. These are the elements which a designer can creatively use to build a complex or simple image according to his need. The various elements of design are point, light, shape, form, value, texture and color. We'll try to understand each element in detail in the next slides. First, point. Point is a basic element of design, a single mark in space that has position but no extension. Point groups together to form a line or form. Seeing two points, our eyes will make a connection. Like 2 points will try to, when we see 2 points, it will automatically connect to form a line. Seeing 3 points, our eyes will make a triangle. A point alone can inspire a product designer. On the left side of the screen, you can see an image which is a very creative use of dots to create an illustration of a woman. Likewise, dots can be used very creatively to create various different forms of designs. As you see here, random bigger and smaller size of dots are used to create a illusion. Here we can see that use of same sized multiple dots helps to create a flow within the design, and the other side use of different sized dots helps to make the viewer travel from one point to another. Next element is line. Line represents a path between 2 points. A line can be straight, curved, vertical, horizontal, diagonal or zigzag. Lines imply motion and suggest direction or orientation. So when you try to analyze the different emotions created by different forms of lines, oblique lines helps to create the feeling of movement, action and change. Curved and S-shaped lines creates a quiet, calm and sensual feeling, and converging lines helps to give the feeling of depth, scale and distance. So when we talk about the uses of lines can be used to organize information, highlight or stress some words, connect pieces of information, create a grid or create a pattern or rhythm by drawing multiple lines. So as you see here, for most shading techniques we are using multiple lines in multiple directions to create the impact of shading. Here we can see that lines can be used to form objects. In the first image we have used multiple lines to create an illustration of an hand. Next we are going to discuss about shapes. Shapes are boundaries which are defined by elements of art in an enclosed space. That is, lines, color, value, texture are enclosed within a particular space. Shapes have limitations to width and height. There are basically two different types of shapes, which are geometric shape and organic shape. So firstly, when we talk about geometric shapes, they are the basic shapes which we commonly know, like circle, rectangle, square or triangle. These are few examples of design which have been created using the geometrical shapes. These are different types of shapes. When we have 3 sides we call it a triangle. When we have 5 sides we call it a pentagon. When we have 10 sides we call it decagon, and when we have 12 sides we call it dontagon. Next we are going to discuss about organic shapes. Organic shapes are shapes with which have a natural look, flow and curved appearance. Shapes and forms are irregular and asymmetrical in nature. We mostly find these kinds of images in the nature. Shapes associated with natural things like plants and animals. So these are some examples of these kinds of shapes. We generally find these shapes from the nature. So here we are going to try to compare the two different types of shapes. The first is geometric. Geometric shapes and forms include mathematical and named shapes such as square, rectangle, circle, cube, sphere and cones. Geometrical shapes and forms are often man-made. However, many natural forms also have geometrical shapes. Next, when we talk about organic shapes and forms are free flow and they are typically irregular or asymmetrical in nature. Organic shapes are often found in nature, but man-made shapes can also imitate organic forms. So next we will be discussing about the positive and negative space. Here when we try to analyze this image, you can see that this portion is a utilization of positive space, but at the same time the negative space is creatively used to create an illustration of a triangle. And the other image you can see that sometimes it's hard to tell them apart. You cannot differentiate between positive and negative space. Here we can see that different types of shapes are connected with different types of emotions and different concepts. As we see in the first image, curved shapes are graceful in nature, blocks are solid and stable, inverted pyramids and cones are usually unstable in nature. At the same time, leaned positions of shapes suggest movement in the frame. Angular shapes suggest structural strength of the image. So these are few examples of designs which have been created using various different kinds of geometrical shapes and organic shapes. Next we are going to discuss about form or shape. Sphere, cube, cone are regular forms. Rock or stone found in nature are good organic forms. So when we try to understand the positive and negative space, we can say that a positive space is a space which is occupied by a solid space, and a negative space which is the space left out by the solid. So we can say that space can be used to give the eye a visual rest, create ties between lines, highlight an element. Putting a lot of white space around something important to call attention, it gives an easy flow of idea. So usage of negative and positive space is very important to convey a proper message. You can use a negative space in very creative ways to draw the attention of the viewer of the design towards the elements which you are trying to emphasize. So next element which we are going to say is value or tone. Value gives difference and contrast between the foreground and background of the object. It allows to give more depth, clarity and interest in the composition which we are trying to create. Industrial terms and tonal values are like lights and shades. For example, when the object is lit by a light source, areas receiving the direct light rays are more bright, and areas where light is not reaching are the dark sides, which is called the shades. Okay, midtones or half tones, they are the areas which are not fully bright or fully dark but in the transition stage. At the same time, when we talk about cast shadows, shadow is a darker area found within an object itself. These areas are present within the object, but at the same time the cast shadows is a darker area falling outside of the object. Highlights are the areas of light where certain spots and sparkling bright are known as highlight. There are two types of lights. For example, bounce light are the areas receiving reflected light from other objects, but at the same time reflected light are the areas receiving direct light rays from the source of light. Value can be used to lead the eye across a page, such as running a dark to light grade area in the background. It helps to create a pattern. It gives the illusion of volume and depth by adding shades to the area. As you see in that image, you can see how the use of light and darker shades gives a very depth to the image. It also helps to create an image of lightness or darkness. It makes a layout dramatic with large areas of dark or light shading. Emphasis and element. So shading helps to create an emphasis when you are trying to design something and you want to emphasize on any important elements or any important parts of the image. You can use these values in a creative way to draw the attention of the audience. It makes object appear to be in front or behind of each other. So it generally helps to create the visual illusion. These are few examples of creative uses of values. In this image you can see that creative use of darker and lighter tone helps to create an illusion of depth in an image. In the other image it tries to form a pattern. Here you can say that there is a creative use of value to create a texture to the image. Next we are going to talk about texture. The surface roughness or smoothness is called texture. Tactile texture is actually the feel of texture surface by touch. It is something which we feel when we actually touch something. But at the same time, visual texture is a stimulated textural effect, not by physical touch, but we can see it in a flat surface. So we are trying to recreate the feel which we would be actually receiving when we touch an object by using the different elements in a visual. So here you are not going to touch the image or feel the image by touch, but you are going to feel the image through your vision. So that's where the creative use of texture comes into play. Texture can be used to give a printed publication, presentation of web page, a mood or personality. It also helps to create contrast for interest. It helps to fool the eye. It also provokes emotions, and it also creates a feeling of richness or depth. There you can see an example of visual texture and tactile texture. As you see the tactile texture image, you can feel how the image would actually feel if you touch. These are few examples of creative use of texture. Next we are going to talk about different uses of color. Color can be used to highlight important elements such as headline or sub-headline in a magazine, newspaper, or any print design you are trying to create. Color helps to attract the eye. It helps to draw the attention of the viewer towards any particular element, and it helps to signal the reader where to look. It creates an image or mood. It ties a layout together and helps to organize. Color groups elements together and isolates them. It also helps us to provoke emotions in the audience. Here, colors are affected by nature of light. You can see that the first image shows an example of a natural light. Position of the sun due to the time of the day and season of the year plus the atmospheric condition creates a wide spectrum of beautiful lights which combine to create a interesting composition. At the same time, in the other side, you can see an example of artificial lighting. The physical nature of light such as fluorescent light, candle light, etc. helps to create interesting frames such as that. Next, we are going to discuss about three major properties of color. It is also called color dimensions. You can see that first image shows the hue. Hue is a family of color which is red, green or blue. Next one is intensity. Intensity is the saturation of the color. It is a purity of color, how bright or dull the color is. Value tries to represent how dark or light the color is. So this is basically all about color. All these elements combine together to create an interesting image. So if you know how to utilize these elements in a proper way, you can always become a very creative and interesting designer. Next, we will try to learn about color wheel. When all spectrum of colors are arranged in a circular way, it's called color wheel. There are basically three primary colors which are used in a design, and these are the basic elements which are red, yellow and blue. These colors combine to form secondary colors which are orange, green and purple. There are also certain intermediate colors produced as a byproduct of the mixing of primary and secondary colors. They are blue, green, red, purple and yellow, green. And there are also certain neutral colors which is white, grey, black and brown. So you can effectively use these colors to create a wide spectrum of design while you are trying to create a design. It impacts your design in a very positive way. So you have to learn the tonal values and the kind of emotions every color tries to convey. So in this slide, we are trying to understand the different emotions conveyed by different types of colors. So we can see that red color is often associated with evil or danger. It is a dynamic when used in design. Blue color is calm, soothing and sometimes associated with sadness or depression. Yellow is a cherry color that embodies warmth and light. Black is associated with bad luck and mostly used in mourning and dramatic situations. White light symbolizes purity, trust, innocence and light. Purple is a symbol of royalty and wealth. So proper knowledge about the message conveyed by different shades of light can change the perspective of your design in a very different way. So we have to be aware of the different kinds of emotions and meanings attached with different shades and tones of different colors. So in this slide we can see a very wide range of utilization of various colors to create a very interesting set of designs. So in this session, we tried to learn what is design and different elements of design. In another session, I'll meet you with a different topic. Thank you.